Good morning, friends, and welcome back to Astrology Today. I am Melanie Rose, and I'm here to share your daily aspects. Today is Monday, February 14, 2022, Valentine's Day, if you didn't know. I just want to take a moment to wish my spouse, Jennifer Rose, a very happy Valentine's Day. I love you, sweetheart, and I'm so grateful for this journey that we're on together. The sun is in Aquarius today, as is Saturn in its home sign of Aquarius. And Mercury itself moves into Aquarius today as well. So these themes that we have been exploring around structural integrity, firm foundations, not just for ourselves, but the entire community, they have been coming in strong, and we have been doing the work not only on ourselves but in collaboration with the people that we work with, that we work for and around, the people in our social, civic, and work sphere. And Mercury coming in is going to make us a little more communicative along those lines as well. So that's interesting, and we'll talk about it in a minute. We're in the last week of the sun's transit through Aquarius, and it's a time sort of reflection on the last several weeks, reflection as we begin to journey back inward. You see there's a balance to be sought. There is an ebb and a flow to these things. As Aquarius brings us out into the community and out into our collaborative ideas about how the world could be, ought to be, and the work that we have to do in collaboration with other people to bring about the world that we'd like to see. Pisces is going to bring us more into a sense of, we need some isolation and some rest. And that's not necessarily what Pisces is about, but it is about rest, and it is about taking time to be creative and just enjoy the feeling of being human, being a human with this consciousness that has all sorts of wonderful ideas that we can express. So sort of out of a worker mode and into a more playful mode, and out of an outer life mode into more of an inner life mode, even in our outer life, if that makes any sense. And as we're on our way out, I also want to take a look at, the bent that Aquarius has toward legacy. So part of the reason that we think about, the structures that we rely on for support and validation, especially those outer life structures, work, social, civic lives, it's not just for ourselves to feel foundationally secure, and it's not just for the people around us to feel foundationally secure, but it's also for future generations, for the people who come behind us. What are we going to leave behind, right? Your legacy is the culmination of your life's work. Our legacy together is the culmination of the work that we have done together to make our worlds more habitable, easier for us all to get along in them, more accessible. There are a lot of people in this world who don't have a lot of access to the broader experience of being human. They get sort of stuck in that Capricorn grind mode where, if they look up, they fear to lose ground. And, it's possible that a lot of us are literally in that situation where if we sort of look up from our work, we might actually lose some ground. But, Aquarius says, think about the work that we do together to create a better livelihood, a better life for everybody involved. It's okay to look up from time to time and think about, not just the work that you do for yourself personally, but how it impacts and benefits the larger good of humanity. The moon begins in Cancer today, making ingress to Leo early this morning. And this is another shift in the heart and home and the body vibe from really being in our bodies and our emotions to coming out and shining our light, bringing more joy and brightness to our relationships, bringing warmth and generosity to those around us. And the waxing gibbous moon, we're just 2 days out from the full moon now, which will be in Leo. So that's exciting. We're finally coming to the end of, well, maybe not the end of, we're coming to some culmination point with this full moon on Wednesday. And today, we're still putting in the work, right? We're still doing the labor, making the phone calls or the emails, putting our feet on the ground so that we can reach this culmination point, having met some goals, either short-term or long-term, either partial or complete. Okay, I'm going to go over the planets on the page really quickly, and then we'll get into the aspects. The sun represents the outer life, and this is who we are in our social, civic, and work life. It's also who you are when you step out the door, and the person that people first get to know when they meet you. That's your outer life. The moon represents the inner life. This is more your experience of yourself, how your body feels, how your heart and mind feel, those things you think, feel, know, and intuit. Also, who you are in relationship to your home life. Mercury represents the personal intellect. That's your day-to-day thoughts, plans, and communications and the running around that you do. Venus represents love and money. And where is Venus? Venus is down here. Venus represents love and money, or how do we relate to those people and things that we like, love, and can't get enough of. Mars is about our personal sense of initiative, whatever that fire is in our gut that drives us forward. And I made a little division here because above this line we have the personal planets. These are the planets that just talk about us and what we're dealing with and what we're experiencing and how we interact. Below this line, those outer planets, they have still to do with us, but more to do with us in relationship to the human collective, okay? So Jupiter is about our growth, our positive expansion, our good fortune, higher education, travel abroad, big business, those things that expand your personal experience and bring you into connection with the rest of the world. Saturn is about the structures that we rely on for support and validation, and those networks that we rely on, as well as the duty that we have to maintain them. Uranus, I put the word awaken there. It came up for me yesterday. Uranus comes around and asks us if we can do things a little bit different. And so I'm going to say we are awakened to new possibilities for change. And then Pluto also comes around, doesn't ask us what we can do differently. It just kind of brings us through these extremes of experiences that show us why we want to do things the way we want to do them. And so we're transformed, and hopefully we get to evolve into a slightly better version of ourselves. Better and worse being relative terms. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get into the aspects. I'll discuss the aspect energies as we go. And you can see that I've divided the page into 2 columns, one for each of our luminaries. The moon sheds light on our inner lives, and these very brief aspects and transits have more to do with what we think, feel, know, and intuit, what happens on the inside. The sun sheds light on our outer lives, and I address the sun and the rest of the planet's aspects over here because they take longer and they have more to do with who we are in relationship to the outer life. And we start with the moon today. Central Standard Time, friends, at 4:47 a.m. The moon makes a opposition with Mercury and an opposition with Mercury. So at this point, Mercury brings in speed of thought and like cognitive functioning, but in an opposition that can look more like quickly shifting thoughts and ideas and plans. It's easy to feel confused or just sort of foggy about the way things are going, or about what we want or what we think we can plan going forward. It is a 2-hour aspect. And it's pretty early in the morning, so, you could just chalk it off to being cloudy from having slept all night, right? But just keep in mind that it's only 2 hours. We don't have to bring that confusion with us forward into the day. If anything, at this time, I would just sit and, focus on those things that I am clear about and work on them. And then at 5:17 in the morning, the moon makes ingress to Leo. So that's like a half an hour void of course, right? Sometimes we get 8 hours or 12 hours. I think recently we had an almost 24-hour void of course. So these things really vary, and this is only like a half an hour void of course time before the moon moves into Leo. And moon in Leo, again, brings us more out of ourselves and our attention to ourselves, and into our attention to those that we keep around us. Leo has a really warm, loving vibe. Think of that sunshine in July as it shines on the fields and makes everything green and growing. And at this time, so it's very outward facing energy. It's very dramatic. It's very, hey, look at me, right? So it's a good time to dramatize and celebrate what is personal to us in this sort of warm and playful light. Leo tends to bring out sort of the inner child in us. So it's okay to go with that if you just feel like, sitting down with a coloring book and some markers, like I do every day, and engaging in some play and celebrating the more childish, innocent things that we love. That's a great thing to occupy ourselves with when we can for the next 2.5 days, because that's a 2.5 day transit. And then on the sun side of the page, which, it's great because we had all these ongoing things, ongoing forever, right? We had Venus in retrograde, and we had Saturn in an opposition with Uranus, and we had, or was it a challenging position with Uranus? And we had Mercury in retrograde, and we had Venus and Mercury in retrograde together in Aquarius. Then we had, it's been, and then we had Mercury conjunct Pluto, and I think we had Venus conjunct Pluto for a while there too. We've got some more Pluto conjuncts coming up. So it's been a lot of transformative work. It's been a lot of internal work on who we are on the outside. And then we just got this nice blank page yesterday. But now we're starting to move into the next phase of things. We don't get much of a break between what the sun shines its light on and what we're being asked to pay attention to. So Mercury entering Aquarius, we move from a more methodical mindset to a more hungry or insatiable mindset, right? So before we were working with what we know, with what's tried and true. We want to do what works. And as we move into Aquarius, our minds become a little more open and sort of hungry for fresh inspiration, knowledge, thoughts, ideas, and plans, and less pragmatic and practical on the Capricorn side, and more original thinking, inventive, perhaps even more scientific and far-seeing on the Aquarius side. So I welcome that change to bring our heads up out of the work a little bit and set them on grander visions and personal expressions. Coming up this week on Wednesday, we have a full moon in Leo on the same day that Venus makes a conjunct with Mars. And Venus in conjunct with Mars, this is like partners going on vacation together. It's really about the different parts of ourselves working really well together, almost like they're hitched up together and pulling a chariot forward. They're both in Capricorn, so it's very much about the work that we have to do the work that we are doing on our ability to be in relationship, be good in relationship with ourselves and with other people. Not like Venus retrograde where we were just reviewing whether we were getting what we needed, right? But really just sort of looking at ourselves in partnership and seeing how well our partnerships work, and also, you know, seeing where we can make the effort to make them work better. But it's all going to be very blessed because coming up later this week, when is that? On Thursday, Jupiter is making a sextile with Uranus, and that's going to be several weeks as well. So these are like together. This is, you know, good fortune, positive expansion, and in a really cooperative vibration with doing things different, awakening to changes that we can make. So this is like expectation of positive changes, you know, in the context of our relationships with ourselves and others. And that's really positive to me. And that's really what we're going to be talking about over the next several weeks, just as we begin this, get to the full moon in Leo, which is really warm, loving, generous vibe. It's time to play. It's time to shine. It's time to, again, be dramatic and you know, engage in ritual, engage in, you know, family time, all that kind of stuff. And then on Friday, the sun's going to make ingress into Pisces. So just as Mercury has come into Aquarius and started to take this broad view, the sun is going to go into Pisces, and we're going to start thinking more about, you know, resting, relaxing, again, being more playful and creative, and just enjoying our creative capacity. So that is our aspects for today. I appreciate you being here. And if you've made it this far, please go ahead and give me a like, thumbs up my video, click the notification bell, and subscribe. And if there's anybody that you think that this will resonate with, please, you know, share it with them. I appreciate that. Also, if you have any thoughts or comments, if this brings up anything for you that you'd like to share, please put it in the comments below. I will see it and respond. At this point in the aspects, I'm in the habit of talking a little tarot. So I'm going to start with this tarot card that sits on the side here. This is the Seven of Swords, and it relates to the last 10 days of the sun's transit through Aquarius. So the last 10 days of the sun's transit through Aquarius is always represented by the 10 of Swords. Not 10 of Swords, 7 of Swords. And this is sort of a sneaky vibration that warns against deceiving others and ourselves, okay? To be careful about when we're deceiving, because everybody does. Everybody tries to keep some things to themselves. We have little secrets, or we try to get away with things. And, you know, a lot of the time it doesn't harm anybody. And if it doesn't harm anybody, it's probably okay. But be careful, you know, not to deceive yourself, because that's, to me, like one of the worst kinds of self-harm. And also, I want to say, be careful, you know, if you are running some kind of game, or you are, you know, on the take in some sort of way, that, you know, you don't do it unnecessarily, and you don't hurt anybody with it, and that when you have made your deception, you need to step away from it as quickly as possible and move back toward the honest life. And that's just my thoughts on that for today. As for the card I'm about to throw, that's more about the aspects as they are today. So I'm just going to remind myself that the sun is in Aquarius and Saturn is in Aquarius. The sun's in Aquarius through the end of the week on Friday. Saturn's in Aquarius through the 26th. Mercury is just moving into Aquarius. So still a lot of Aquarian and Saturn energy on the page. Not to mention these other planets that are in Capricorn, also ruled by Saturn, right? Well, Mercury until later. Mercury is ruled by Saturn either way. Venus and Mars are in Capricorn, and they're going to go conjunct in Capricorn and travel there together for a while before they enter Pisces. So we're still very much paying attention to these concepts behind structural integrity, firm foundations, what it takes to have them, and our duty, our responsibility toward maintaining them. So that's still very much on my mind and very much on the page. We see a lot of transition. I see arrows and arrows and arrows. Okay, so we are in a time of transition. We can see some patterns beginning to shift, see ourselves begin to shift some patterns. And you know, I think it's really positive thing for the moon to be in Leo, and we're coming into this full moon, so I'm focused and sort of jazzed about that. Six of Pentacles. Okay, this is our card for generosity. It sort of says, you know, you've been through some stuff. You've worked on your physical well-being, and that means your body. It also just means your possessions. It also relates to your money and your finances. So whatever it is that you hold that is of value, and you know that does include your body and your life. You've done some work and you've made some gains, and you have enough now to measure what you need against what you can give away. And, you know, there are things that you have the power to share without expectation of being compensated. Sharing for the sake of sharing. That's a very air sign, sort of Aquarius sort of vibe. It's also kind of a Leo sort of vibe. Just shine and share what you've got, and, you know, receive whatever comes back from it. But, you know, the purpose is really to shine. You can't be appreciated unless you give something, give people something to appreciate, right? So that's what comes up for me there. I want to say that it seems like there's a lot of activity going on in the arms of this image, and that tells me that there's work to do when it comes to balancing what we have against what we have to share, and also work to do in terms of knowing where to share it and actually doing the thing. Having the intention to share something is not the same thing as sharing it. Okay, so that's it for today. I sure appreciate you all showing up. My name is Melanie Rose, and I will see you back here tomorrow for more daily aspects with Astrology Today.